The heavy nameplate sat on the mahogany bench, catching the soft glow of the courtroom lights. It read Judge Ebony K. Williams in bold, clear letters. To the woman sitting behind that bench, those words represented more than just a title. They were a testament to a journey that spanned the deep roots of North Carolina and the vibrant spirit of Louisiana, seasoned with a touch of West Coast cool and sharpened by a New York edge. In this particular courtroom, the only thing that mattered was how she saw the world, through a lens of equity and a deep understanding of the human condition. She looked down at the woman before her, a gentle but firm gaze that asked if there was a problem. The answer was a quiet no, a recognition that in this space, equal justice was the guiding light. It was about the values that held the country together: freedom, integrity, and the relentless pursuit of what was right. The judge knew that while one person might run their own household, another man had the right to run his. This was the law she had chosen to pursue, a path she had walked to become a voice for those who felt they had none. In the world of the law, people came from every sector of life. They were black, white, purple, gay, straight, and queer. Every shade of humanity found its way into her court, and that was the very essence of equal justice. The day's proceedings began with the story of Grace Lee and Farah Garcia, a tale of 2 years of shared history and a sudden, painful end. Grace Lee, the plaintiff, stood with a heart full of confusion, claiming she had been blindsided when her ex-girlfriend, Farah Garcia, ended their relationship. The catalyst for their legal dispute was a holding fee for a new apartment, a dream that Grace believed they were building together. Farah, on the other hand, stood as the defendant, arguing that while they had discussed the idea of moving in, she had never truly agreed to the commitment. Grace told the court that she was suing for $1,000 because she felt lied to. She believed that Farah had promised to move in with her, only to leave her for someone else. The $1,000 was half of a $2,000 deposit Grace had placed to hold an apartment. When the relationship crumbled and the move was canceled, the landlord had only returned $1,000. To Grace, this was a debt of broken promises. They had been together for almost 2 years, a significant amount of time in any life. Farah looked at the judge, her expression one of surprise. She admitted that they had talked about moving in together eventually, perhaps one day in the distant future. It was a beautiful idea, a dream they shared while shopping for items to fill a potential home. However, during a week-long trip to San Diego to visit her family, things changed. While Farah was away, Grace had toured an apartment without her knowledge and paid the holding fee without her consent. Now, Farah found herself being asked to pay for a decision she never made. The judge leaned forward, seeking to understand the foundation of the relationship. They had been in a romantic partnership for 2 years, yet they had always maintained their own separate homes. Farah explained that she felt Grace had simply gotten way too excited and had moved far ahead of their actual plans. They had never reached a formal compromise on moving in. The relationship had been going well, or so it seemed, until Farah reconnected with an old friend during her trip home. She insisted to the court that she had never cheated, but she had met with a man she had known in the past. This meeting, though nothing physical occurred, made her realize that her feelings for Grace had changed. She did not want to mislead herself or Grace any longer. She chose to be honest and end the relationship. Grace felt completely blindsided. She had been in love with a woman she thought was wonderful, only to have her return from a trip and change her mind in an instant. She had sourced the apartment alone, choosing a location they had previously looked at because the price was affordable. She had intended it to be a beautiful surprise, a gesture of love in a relationship that she believed was full of such surprises. But the judge pointed out the gravity of making such a major life decision unilaterally. The evidence presented to the court told a story of shared dreams and digital whispers. There were messages about rugs and paint colors, and dreams of a cute place to call their own. Farah had sent messages saying she could not wait to spend the night looking at apartments and had even sent a smiley face while expressing a wish to live together one day. These words mattered. They created a sense of possibility, a fantasy of a shared life that Grace had held onto with both hands. Farah argued that Grace had betrayed their trust by taking such a large step without consulting her. She felt it was not fair to be asked to pay for a financial commitment she had never signed for. The judge listened carefully, seeing the pattern of Grace making all the decisions for the both of them, driven by a love that perhaps had become one-sided. In her ruling, the judge spoke with empathy. She recognized that at one point, these two women had shared a loving and mutually agreed-upon relationship. But hearts were unpredictable, and people often grew apart at different paces. She did not believe Farah had intended to cause pain, though she may have stayed in the relationship longer than she should have. To Grace, the judge offered a hard truth, that while the pain was real, the legal case was not. One cannot ask a court to make someone pay for the pain of a broken heart or for an idealized version of a relationship. Grace had made the decision to pay the deposit alone, and therefore, she had to bear the cost alone. The case was dismissed, and the $1,000 was to be viewed as the price of a lesson learned. As one story ended, another began, this one involving the ties of family and the legacy of the departed. Maxwell Connors brought a case against his uncle, Terry Caldwell, over a pair of theater tickets. Maxwell had grown up with a deep love for the theater, a passion nurtured by his late aunt, who was Terry's wife. She had always taken him to performances and supported his dreams. When she passed away the previous October, it was a profound loss for both men. Before her passing, the aunt had sent Maxwell a screenshot of tickets to a famous theater in Chicago. It was a gift, a promise of a shared experience they would have in December. But after she died, Terry had sold the tickets, claiming he needed the money to cover financial hardships. Maxwell was suing for $450, the value of the single ticket that had been intended for him. Terry admitted that he knew the tickets were meant to be a gift for Maxwell, but since his wife was no longer there, he felt the tickets remained in his custody. He had used his own credit card to pay for them and felt he had the right to recoup the costs. When the judge asked a direct question, Terry admitted that even if money were no object, he still would not have allowed his nephew to use the ticket. There was no love lost between them, and Terry felt no obligation to honor his late wife's final wish for her nephew. The judge was not pleased. She saw the text messages as clear evidence of the aunt's intention. To the judge, the source of the payment did not matter as much as the spirit of the gift. She found Terry's disposition to be unkind and his refusal to honor his wife's wish to be a failure of character. She ruled in favor of Maxwell for the full $450. In that courtroom, justice was more than just a set of rules. It was a reflection of human values. Whether it was the cost of a lesson learned in love or the restoration of a gifted memory, Judge Ebony K. Williams ensured that every voice was heard and every story was weighed with integrity. The participants left the room, their lives changed by the experience of having their day in court, leaving behind the quiet dignity of a bench that stood for equal justice for all.